Alfred Sant, you're now a Maltese MEP, but you were, of course, Prime Minister of Malta. What impact would EU immigration restrictions have on UK access to for example, to the single market?
Well, I think it's going to come out in the wash. We're still at the beginning of negotiations. I guess the UK government does need to have its proposals in concrete detail. Huh? It says that immigration is one of its basic defining points about Brexit. So then now what's going to happen, I guess, is that the European side will make counter-proposals that will reflect the British position and will jostle out of that.
When it comes to the concept of a transitional period, could the UK restrict immigration during a transition and at the same time enjoy all the current trade benefits it gets from being an EU member?
Well, there's no benchmark for that. This is new territory. So basically what the UK will be trying to do is to get the best bargain it can. What the Europeans will be trying to do, and which they probably will get, is to sort of restrict that and get themselves the best bargain. So really there's no kind of defining point at this point of time. Both sides are making their negotiating positions in detail. They will have to sort of come out with crunch decisions that will sort of reflect their mutual strength in this one.
The mantra you hear from Brussels very often is the four freedoms cannot be divided, that you can't have freedom of movement, restrictions, and yet enjoy the other three freedoms as much as you like. Isn't that, when you look at the UK proposals, isn't that exactly what the British seem to be wanting to do in this case?
But that's what the British want to do. Whether they will get what they want is another question. I guess they won't get what they want on this one. But on the other hand, there are other things up for discussion, like the financial settlement, like Ireland, like all the other points that relate to financial services, security, terrorism. So really, you can't decide on one chapter without looking at how the other chapters are going to pull.
What you seem to be suggesting is that the British proposal is not impossible. It might be subject to the negotiation, but you wouldn't rule it out. Is that what you're saying?
You can't rule anything out at this point, because in Europe, the way negotiations are carried out is that at the end of the day, you have long midnight discussions, and then you come up with some kind of solution that's a mishmash of different positions.
To what extent could the tone of the British proposals on immigration impact on the future trade deal that's done?
Well, I would guess that the tone of the British proposals is going to harden the position of some member states, especially in Eastern Europe, which initially would have been quite sympathetic to Brexit. So that's how the cookie crumbles on that one. On the other hand, there are things to lose and things to gain from both sides. Like the Europeans, like the Germans and the French, stand to gain quite something from financial services that the British will be losing. And in terms of hard trade, goods trade, both sides stand to lose and to gain. They will be making their own calculations to go forward. At the moment it looks like Europe is making its calculations as a bloc, which it is. But when the time comes for the details, there will be different perspectives as well.
A final question, as a former Prime Minister, what do you make of the British negotiating tactics? If this could be part of that, what do you make of the British tactics in these negotiations so far?
They remind me of tactics that used to be carried out by Malta when Malta was discussing with the British on the base back in the 70s. You know, you start out from a strong position, strongly held position, then you negotiate down.
You're not too worried?
No, I don't see it. I'm not too worried for this reason. I think it's in the inherent interest both of the EU and the UK to come to some deal. The British people have decided they want to go out, but it's still in the interest of the British people and the Europeans to have a good working relationship. So